Hello there, everyone. It's Katie Hentel here, and today I am standing for a couple reasons. One, because I am back at work recording workshops, and when I do that, I'm often standing because I am guiding you to be more fully present in your body. And I want to bring a little bit more of that to our video today. If you've been with me for a while, you know that I like to kind of weave back and forth between conversation and practice. Lots of times in these YouTube videos, we are really in a more conversation space, but today I want to bring a little bit more of a practice space to this conversation. If you're somewhere today where you can't be standing, maybe you're at work and you have to be seated in a chair, that's fine. You can do anything we're doing today seated in a chair. My practices are almost always, not 100% of the time, but almost always really geared to be simple and to be able to really tune to your present moment, whether that's seated, whether that's standing, whether that's out for a walk on the trails, whether that's out for a run on the trails, wherever you're at in life. These practices are really here to help you become present in whatever is alive, because that's really what they're here for, is to bring conscious awareness, that presence, to whatever moment you are in. And in particular today, what's really lighting me up right now, what keeps pinging me, is really this question of how it is that we step into this embodied state that I spend most of my time talking about. How we really step into this felt connection with self, the sensations alive that are alive in any one moment. And to contrast that with how so many of us have been taught to move through life, how I was certainly taught to move through life, as a kid going through school, and then later in life as a student of science and engineering. Really, this way we've been taught to move through life, that's really kind of almost actively working to disconnect from self, right? And I invite you to really bring this to your own story, your own experience, your own reality here, is this question of, what times in life were you taught, and maybe it was really intentional, this teaching, or maybe it was another sort of teaching where this isn't directly what was being taught, but this is what you received. Was this the importance of disconnecting from self? So I can tell you, as a scientist engineer, this is something that was regularly taught. This, don't trust what your body is telling you. Your body, yourself, is here with all this bias. And if you want the best results, the best data, and if you want to be able to draw the best conclusions from your work, or as an engineer, if I want to be able to be as focused and clear as possible on solving the problem at hand, then there's this need to cut myself off from what was alive in my body. And I'll give you a specific example here. I spent years working in traumatic brain injury laboratories, right? So traumatic brain injury, right? I say it and immediately my body starts to respond. And it's not a pleasant sensation, right? Speaking to injury of the brain, right? Can you feel that with me? Like there's that like revulsion there, like pain, like, oh, I don't want, right? That like, eh. So if you're doing work as a traumatic brain injury researcher, there's this thing that happens where your body has this very natural response. Again, that, not pleasant. And if you listen to that, if you bring your full conscious awareness to that, it's gonna get in the way, especially when you're there actually in the doing of the injury, right? And I know there's a lot of you out there who don't even want to be with me in this conversation right now, right? And I decided to bring this kind of strong example today to really, really bring this into your experience here. Again, this like, there are reasons where we have been taught to disconnect, because if we're doing, important work, there's this need to like separate ourselves from what our bodies might be telling us. And I remember being a young, early 20s researcher and being so proud of myself that I could do this. I talked to my mom about it, and my mom would be all squeamish, and like she couldn't talk to me about it because she was connected to her body. And I remember being so proud of myself that I could disconnect from my felt experience so that I could do the oh so important work that is traumatic brain injury research. Fast forward a few years, lots of stories I could share here. It's this moment. I had this moment, this summer, just really spending day after day alone in this closet-sized laboratory, alone with these stem cells I had in like these dishes, and it was just me and these stem cells, and I'm doing this traumatic brain injury research, and it was this process of like showing up day after day, being in this stillness, in this quietude of this small closet-sized laboratory that I could finally start to listen. And it's not, let me choose these words carefully. It's not that here, it's that I could finally listen. It's that all the right context was in place. I was showing up day after day. It was quiet. There was so much stillness. The tasks I was doing were so monotonous that there was so much space. And it was in this spaciousness that I couldn't help but finally hear it. I couldn't help but finally listen to what was very present in my body, in those sensations in my body. I had spent so many years actively pushing those sensations away, right? Actively pushing away the response of my body to what I was choosing to do. But it's here with all this spaciousness that I couldn't help but finally listen and finally hear what my body, what my whole being had been desperately trying to tell me for years. And what it was trying to tell me was like, hey, what the hell are you doing being a researcher locked away in this tiny closet-sized room doing this monotonous task that probably isn't actually going to lead anywhere? Like, no, get outside, go be in your body, go live life. And of course, the long story unfolds from there. Long story of getting away from the world of science and engineering and stepping into the world of embodiment, of teaching yoga, of teaching meditation, and all the great things that we do over here. So with that, I'm curious as I shared my story, is there anything that was really coming to life in you? Like, is there any experiences in your life? And if you're like the typical modern human being, there's probably a long list. There's probably a long list of experiences you've had in life where you've been actively taught to disconnect from those felt sensations in your body. And the reason we have this conversation today is because as I had to learn through a very dark, very painful process, was how important those sensory bits of information are to our ability to move through life making skillful decisions that are in alignment with what is truly best for each of us in any one moment. So I'm just going to list a few examples here of where I see this showing up, because for you there's a good chance that there's examples of this that are popping up in your life, but for some of you that may not be happening. So just let me name off a few, and some of these might be relevant to you, some of them may not. But for the one that's always top of mind is diet culture, right? Dieting being this world where, yes, we have these high hopes and desires and intentions for ourselves, right? We are working, wanting to show up for ourselves, to be healthier, to create change, beneficial change within ourselves. But the way we do it is we kind of step into this space where we're forcing ourselves to enter into a place, an action step that it so happens that our bodies start to speak up in kind of revolt, right? And in this, like, I'm searching for words here, but really what I want to do is invite you into this felt experience, right? I think, most of us have tried to put ourselves on a diet to change things because that's what society teaches us, right? So that feeling of like stepping into a diet, and it's that like body's response that's like, no. And we could talk for a long time about the problem with diets and why our bodies respond, but we're not going to go down that rabbit hole today. Shifting to another example, I get this all the time with running, right? Because I'm a big runner, so people like to talk to me about running. And they like to talk to me about how they've tried running, but like couldn't do it because the experience was horrible. The experience was horrible because they had this idea in their mind that's like, okay, to be a runner, I need to put on my running shoes and go run like 1 mile or 3 miles and actually go run. Meanwhile, they haven't ran since they were like 12 years old or 20 years old, the number doesn't matter. You get the point that for someone who hasn't run in a long time to then go out and just run, the body is going to respond with unpleasantries because this isn't actually a healthy, skillful way to pick up running, right? So the way I respond in these conversations, what I teach, and this is relevant whether you're interested in running or interested in anything else in life, is you have to show up at a pace that is aligned with your body. So if you haven't ran in 2 decades and you go out and you run 3 miles at a 10-minute per mile pace, sure, you can maybe get yourself to do it, but your body's going to hurt. And the next day, your body's going to really hurt. And you're not going to want to show up again, right? And if you keep trying to get yourself to show up in that way, you're going to get injured. So those sensations in your body are trying to tell you something very important. To slow down your pace. To go out for a walk. Maybe jog like a few 100 meters every once in a while on your 2 to 3 mile walk. Right? And from there, start to building up over time. Right? It's the same thing with dieting. Dieting, we have this idealized plan that we think we have to make ourselves do. When really what we need to do is just go to the store and buy some broccoli, right? Don't buy the cereal this time. Broccoli and cereal don't necessarily add up to the same meal, but the idea here is take a step that feels easy, maybe a little bit uncomfortable, but reasonable for your body. Take that step. Listen to your body. Buy that broccoli. Oh, that was so easy to just buy some more broccoli. Cooked the broccoli. Now I'm feeling good. And now I want to go buy broccoli and zucchini. That's the way we change our diet. It's that's the way we build up the ability to run. That's the way we really create transformation. And it's this need to slow it down. God, we hate to hear that, don't we? We just take a moment to sit with that. We can't stand to hear in our society the importance of slowing down, because society is so focused on telling us all the things we need to do all the time. And so we're stuck in this need to be moving and fitting ourselves into this ideal and fitting ourselves into this ideal. All the while, what's really, really needed is to slow down. Slow down with me here just for a minute. Just for a minute. Slow down with me here. Find your feet on the floor, your seat in the chair, whatever is relevant to you to connect with the space holding you here in this moment. Find that connection with the surface holding you here in this moment, bringing your full conscious attention to it. And from here, finding your breath, taking a few deep breaths, slow breaths. And I'll add in this important part today. As we're here in this practice, bringing your conscious awareness to how your body responds. Okay, so you're asking yourself to do something. You're asking yourself to bring your attention to your feet, to your seat. And you're asking yourself to slow down your breath to take deeper breaths. And as you're here in this space, holding attention, holding awareness on how your body responds. Does your mind start to respond? Does your mind start to race? Does your mind start to race with all the other things you could be doing, you need to be doing, because your list is like 10 million items long, and why are you here slowing down? Because you have 10 million other things to be doing, and oh my God, you need to turn off this YouTube video now and go. Does your heart start to race? Do you get anxious? All of these were so present for me. Anytime, I talk about how I could never actually get myself to do a yoga class because I would start to do yoga and they'd be like, okay, inhale, arms up, and exhale, arms down. And meanwhile, my body is so programmed to be moving, so I'm racing and I'm already out of that yoga class. So I created this whole workshop series that's really focused on what we're doing right here. This ability to slow down and to listen. And I don't create this program because I'm asking that you move from a rabbit to a tortoise and that I want you to move through life slowing down and being in connection. Like, that's not what we're working towards. If you know me, you know that my life is very full. Like, at any one moment, my to-do list is so long. My want to do, my, oh my God, I still want to go do this list is so long. And I move through life doing a lot in a day. But I also find the moments to slow down. This here is my favorite practice. My very favorite practice in the world is to go for a run. And I like to go for a run out on the trails, right? So I'm out on the trails, I'm in the desert, in the forest, in the mountains, wherever I am. I'm out running. And sometimes I'm out running for like 3 miles. Sometimes I'm out running for like 30 miles. I can be a little bit extreme when it comes to my running. Doesn't matter the distance. I'm out running. I'm out moving my body. I'm moving. My favorite practice in the world is to move, to run, and then to pause. And to pause. And sometimes it's a scene, like a beautiful, beautiful, expansive scene. Sometimes it's just like simply a tree. Sometimes it's something that captures my attention, or sometimes it comes from within, like, okay, I haven't paused in a while. But however it unfolds, I'm running, and then I pause. And this happens automatically because I've done enough of the yoga and the embodiment work. So I pause and find my grounding. So I feel into that connection with the earth below me. And I take a few deeper, slower breaths. And from here, I'm able to step into this fuller state of presence. And to really, truly be able to feel it. To feel all that is alive in that present moment. And then I'll start moving again. I'll start running again because there's somewhere else I want to get to, or I need to get more miles in. So I'm moving again, and I'm able to be present with life in a different way because I'm in motion and I have a direction that I'm headed. And then I pause. And I pause again. Ground into the earth below me. Ground into my body. I'm in connection with everything that is asking for my attention in that moment. and then I'm off again. And it's my favorite practice because, one, the practice itself brings joy and fulfillment and this felt experience of life that I love more than any other experience in life. And I love this practice because it doesn't matter where the practice takes place. It doesn't matter where the practice takes place. It's this ability to dance between being in action, being in motion, being oriented in this direction of I need to go in this direction. This is where my focus, this is where my attention is. Then let me pause and let me expand and let me simply feel what is here to be felt. And then I'm off again, I'm moving in a direction. And again, it's this dance that brings to life a balance, but not like that stagnant balance, right? We talk about balance in life as this like stagnant, idealized thing, like find balance in life. But find a balance that's dynamic, that allows you to move and weave and be present and step into what is asking to be experienced in the moment. Good stuff today. Good stuff today. If you want more of this, I invite you to enter into my Back in Your Body Embodied Foundations workshop series. It's a space where you get to play with this more, and yes, to play, and also to step into a space that's really devoted to the transformation that you are seeking in your life. Alrighty. Thank you so much for tuning in today. That link will be below in the notes. Hit that like button, hit that subscribe button if you haven't yet. And with that, I so look forward to catching you in whatever the next space is that we find ourselves in.